zero. I gotta push up this night. But you knew that.
So against but my blues and written now. No, I like the way I'm feeling now. I might get smarty when it stress me, but right now I'm chilling now. Dead boys, enough dust, they make dust, enough dress, the gas fail, MC boys, they roll up in the nice dust.
But you knew that. Slidey Pope. Let's go.
I like the way I'm feeling now. No confuse your regrets, but my blues I'm written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. I'm already got smarty with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now.
Way out my feelings and nothing can stress me. The way I run the game, I'm feeling like referee. No, like Moses parting the Red Sea, like a chauffeur, me in the back of the Bentley. So I step out, all white, can't stain. What you want? Rosé, champagne, I got that. Big bag, back pain. Taking the piss, the only time I can't aim. So we toasted a good life. And every minute to the full, cause I could die. Pull up at the spot, open doors, and it's suicide. Chillin' rent free, where the check please. Couple hundred G's on a good night.
I like the way I'm feeling now. No come use your regrets, but my blues and written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Mama, you got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now. I like the way I'm feeling now. No come use your regrets, but my blues and written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Mama, you got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now.
Yeah. All I wanna do is jive. 220 on the highway. I'm about the energy. Baby, if it's good, send it my way. If it's bad, keep it private. All these haters so vexed, I'm the best alive. You don't want to test the guy. You been sleeping on yourselves, you test it fly. Throw myself a party, then act surprised. Be the highest in the room when the guests arrive. Yeah, ain't nobody realer. Touchdown, got a couple G's for the dealer. Gang signs out the window, my killer. Life getting sweeter, no use water, dilute my Ribena. So we toast to the good life. Every minute to the full, cause we could die. Pull up open doors and it's suicide. Yeah, 16 bad, whoop, and they all by the poolside.
I like the way I'm feeling now. No come use your regrets, but my blues I'm written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Mama, you got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now. I like the way I'm feeling now. No come use your regrets, but my blues I'm written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Mama, you got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now. Dead boys, enough toys, they make toys, enough dress, gas flare, MC boys, they roll up in the nice toys.
Vibes.
But you knew that. Slidey Poe. Let's go.
I like the way I'm feeling now. No come use your regrets, but my blues I'm written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Mama, you got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now.
Way out my feelings and nothing can stress me. The way I run the game, I'm feeling like referee. No, like Moses parting the Red Sea, like a chauffeur, me in the back of the Bentley. So I step out, all white, can't stain. What you want? Rosé, champagne, I got that. Big bag, back pain. Taking the piss, the only time I can't aim. So we toasted a good life. Living every minute to the full, cause I could die. Pull up at the spot, open doors, and it's suicide. Chillin' rent free, where the check please. Couple hundred G's on a good night.
I like the way I'm feeling now. No come use your regrets, but my blues I'm written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Mama, you got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now. I like the way I'm feeling now. No come use your regrets, but my blues I'm written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Mama, you got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now.
Yeah. All I wanna do is
We are here now. So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to those on Instagram. I just decided to do this on Instagram, This afternoon, I will be hosting a webinar. It's a series that we started some months ago, and today is the last installment. It's been a very, very interesting series, and I'm really glad that we are having this session today. So I'll just run through the reason why I'm doing this so that everyone can understand why. Very simple. When the pandemic hits, it affected a lot of people. It affected a lot of businesses. A lot of people lost their jobs. Some people lost their means of livelihood. Some people's businesses had to shut down and all of that. But we then began to see that some other businesses were thriving. And we looked at what was helping those businesses thrive. And we decided to say, you know what? We decided to say, let's help those who are thriving. Let's help those who have lost something. Maybe they've lost their jobs or their businesses have shut down. Let's help them get back on their feet. And that was why we started the Surviving COVID free webinar series for businesses. And we've been doing that for some months now. If I can check, let me check. I think we started this, I believe we started this sometime in January, and we've had 9 episodes so far, and this is the 10th episode and the final episode of Surviving COVID free business webinar. So this is for those who either have a business they're running or want to start a new business. Maybe you lost your job due to COVID-19, or your business is struggling due to COVID-19 or whatever. We want to help you get back on your feet and get that business really functional and up and running again. Then the second thing we want to help you do is, if you are just about to start a business, we also want to help you start out and ensure that you are doing it right and you're getting it right. That's the whole essence of this webinar. Today, the topic for this final installment of the webinar series is titled Commanding Business Success Through Self-Leadership. Commanding business success through self-leadership. And in this final installment of this webinar series, by the way, at the end of the webinar, I'm going to share the link to all of the webinars that we've had, all of the guests that we've had in this over the past few months, and how you can watch and learn from them and all of that. I'll share the link right after this, right? So today we'll be looking at commanding business success through self-leadership. And the reason why we're taking this direction to end this series of webinars is simple. It's because at the end of the day, this is what really determines whether everything you've learned in the course of this webinar, everything every knowledge you've acquired can be put to proper use. And this is the reason why we are doing this. For those who are watching on the webinar platform, I want to share my screen. For those who are watching on Instagram Live, hi guys. If you want to see the slides, you might need to sign in at www.ventoven.com if you want to see the slides. But if not, if you're just on Instagram Live, you can just listen to me. Okay, so let's jump right in. So commanding business success through self-leadership. Before I continue, let me just talk a bit about Ventoven. Ventoven is catalyzing business success and organizational growth in Africa. And we do this by providing core back office functions to aid effective operation and maximize profit for businesses. And the reason why we're passionate about supporting businesses is simple. We've come to a realization, it's a painful realization, but we've come to a realization that the government cannot solve all of the challenges faced in Africa and Nigeria. The private sector has to sit up, and businesses have to come up. Businesses that have identified problems within the system and are now providing solution to those problems and are generating revenue and profit from it. That's the only way we can really build Africa sustainably. And a number of events have happened in the past few months and few weeks to remind us that the government will not solve all of this problem for us. So that's why we need to build more businesses. So if you're out there and you have an idea, you have a solution that you think can solve an immediate problem within your environment, and you can profit from that, start that business today. That's what we need in our society right now. All right, so let's jump right in. We'll be focusing on three main areas: business, success, and self-leadership. So I'm going to take this one after the other. Business, because this is a free business webinar. Success, because the whole essence of this is your businesses succeed at the end of the day. And then self-leadership, which is the final installment of this webinar. So let's take the first one, business. What is a business? I mean, how would you describe what a business is? A business is simply a venture that is set up to solve a problem and consistently generate profit from the solution. Now, if you can see my slide, I underlined the word consistently, because it is not a business, it's a gig. It's gig, right? It's a gig if it's not generating profit consistently. It qualifies as a business if it's able to generate profit and is able to do so consistently. So that means that over time, over a certain period of time, this business or this entity is solving a problem and is generating profit consistently from the solution to that problem, right? So that is what a business is. The question you then need to ask yourself is, if you have a business today, what problem is your business solving? You know, a number of times or a lot of times when I sit down with entrepreneurs, maybe I'm advising them, we're having an advisory sessions or we're having brainstorming sessions, and I ask this simple question: what problem is your business solving? Most times they are not able to answer. And if your business is not solving a problem, it will not survive the test of time. That's one. Two, if your business is not solving a problem, it cannot scale. In the regular business world, they would say it cannot grow. But in the startup ecosystem, we would say it cannot scale. For your business to be able to scale effectively, it must be solving a problem, and it must be solving that problem in a very scalable way. If you missed our webinars in the past, like I said, at the end of this, I'll share a link to all of the webinars. This is the 10th episode. I'll share a link to all of them at the end of this so that you can go back and listen or watch the one where we talked about how to ensure that your business is really solving a problem. The next question, if you've ascertained or you've confirmed that you're solving a problem, is to then answer the question of how you consistently generate profit from the solution. So your business, we've said that your business must be solving a problem. Now let's say we've checked that box. Next is, how do you then ensure that you are consistently generating profit from that solution that your business is providing? Now, there are a number of ways to ensure that this happens. And one of the biggest things that you need to figure out here is what we call your business model. Your business model is the design of how your business generates revenue or generates profits. If you are a tech entrepreneur or you are conversant with the tech ecosystem, you would understand what I mean when I talk about business model. If you are not, I don't have enough on this webinar to be able to go through that in details. So I would advise that you go online and read up on how to design your business model. There are tools that you can use online. A very popular one is Business Model Canvas. It will help you figure this out very quickly and very easily. So how do you consistently generate profits from that solution? One of the things that you need to do here is to ensure that the people you are solving the problem for are able to pay for the solution. One. Two is that they are willing to pay. It's one thing for them to be able to pay, it's another thing for them to be able to pay for the solution you're providing for them. Sometimes people know that you are solving the problem, just that they're not willing to pay for that solution. Maybe they have another solution to that problem. So sometimes that's the mistake entrepreneurs make. So you have to understand that and know that these people are not just able to pay, but they are willing to pay for the solution that you're providing. The third thing there is, how do you keep them coming back to you? How do you make them repeat customers? A number of ways to do that. This is not this webinar is not about solving your business model problem, but I'm just touching on a few of these things here and there. The reason for that is so that you can go ahead and go and read up on business model and maybe draw out a business model canvas for your business, which will help you solve this problem. So how do you consistently ensure that you turn them to repeat customers? One of the things we started teaching startups lately is how they can begin to convert customers to fans. And the reason why that changes the dynamics of your business is simple. Your fan would make excuses for you when you make mistakes. You know, if Arsenal fans, if Arsenal loses, their fans don't leave the club. They would be sad, they would shout, they would even fight other clubs, but they still wouldn't leave, but they would still. But if you're customers, the day you mess up, your customers leave, typically. So you want to create systems around your business that turns your customers into fans. Now, a company that has been able to do that over the years is Apple. Apple has been able to convert their customers to fans, and there's a way, or there's an approach to getting that done. Another thing, the reason why it's important for you to be able to turn your customers to fans is because fans want you to become the best that you can become, because you are a reflection of them. So I'll use Arsenal again. Take Arsenal fans, for example. Every Arsenal fan always wants Arsenal to win every match, because Arsenal is a reflection of themselves. Once you convert your clients or your customers to your fans, they become advocates for you. They become evangelists for you. And then you get to the point where you become a reflection of them. So they would always want the best for you. So even when they see that you're doing something that is not right, they will always want to help you make whatever you're doing better. And that's why this is very important. The next thing, that's that. I'm going to stop there, and I'll move on to the second point that we're going to look at, which is success itself. And I wrote here in my slide that success is the accomplishment of a set aim or purpose. Pardon me, that's or purpose, right? And that just answers a lot of questions that people might want to ask. So what that means that there's a set aim or there's a set purpose. So that means you've set something. Success is then you accomplishing that aim or that purpose that you have set. This then helps us to understand that we all define success in different ways. If I set out and say, I want to go from Abuja to Lokoja, for example. If I get to Gwagwalada, I have not succeeded, right? However, if my neighbor comes out in the morning and says he wants to go from Wuse to Gwagwalada, and we both set out at the same time, and he gets to Gwagwalada and we get to Gwagwalada at the same time, he would have succeeded. I wouldn't have succeeded. So success is a function of the purpose of the aim that you have set for yourself. So I think with that being said, the next thing we then need to look at is that we need to be very real with ourselves and ask ourselves a question. In order for you to see your business is succeeding, you must have a set of goals that you've set for that business. So the question now is, what goals have you set for your business? And I often tell people that when you set goals for your business, it's of disadvantage to you to only set financial goals for your business. However, one of the most important goals you need to set for your business are financial goals. But it's of huge disadvantage for you to only set financial goals for your business. There are a number of other goals you need to set for your business. There is one that we encourage startups to set, and that's something called the Net Promoter Score. You can Google that. I don't have enough time. We want to talk about Net Promoter Score. We're going to be here for 3 hours. But your Net Promoter Score is probably one of the biggest goals you can set and biggest target you can have for your business, not even your financial goal. And the reason for that is simple. And on a very high level, I can describe what that is. Your Net Promoter Score simply talks about the fact that if I, as a customer, experience your business in any form or in any way, am I eager or am I open to promote you? That is to bring another customer to you. What is the likelihood of me introducing or trying to convince somebody else to want to patronize that business that you're doing after I have experienced or had an experience with your business? So that's the summary of what your Net Promoter Score is. And there's a way to calculate that and all of that. So you can check that up, look that up on Google. So these are goals that you need to set. You have to set goals. You have to set your customer satisfaction goal. You have to set your reach, or how large do you want your business reach to be. You have to set your impact goals. There are a number of goals that you need to set for your business beyond financial. Financial is good, but there are a lot more. What is going to be, what would your staff strength be at X time? These are goals that you can set. And if you do not have goals set that are set and written down for your business that you are tracking, you are probably just side hustle. Even side hustle, you need to set goals for the side hustle. Now, goals are really important, and I can't overemphasize that. I'm going to jump into the next thing. There's one of the webinars that we had in the past where we had a guest that really talked about how to set goals and the importance of setting goals for your business. So you can, when I share the link to those videos, you can go ahead and watch that to get more information. So let's talk a bit about setting SMART goals. I know we've heard this before. I know a number of us even already do this. But doing this on a personal level and doing this on a business or an organizational level has a slight change in dynamics. And I'm going to be talking from a business perspective now. So your goals must be SMART. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So the first, that's about it being specific, means that it is something that you can pinpoint. Don't say this year we want to break even. What does break even mean in numbers? How much? This year we want to be profitable. What does it mean for you to be profitable? How much profit do you want to make? This year we want to expand our business. What does that expansion mean? Does it mean you are increasing the number of locations you have? Does it mean you are increasing your production capacity? Does it mean you are increasing your production capacity? What is it today? What do you want to increase it to? Specific numbers. One of the things that lets you know that your goal is specific is that you can attach numbers to it. So the number can be a date, it can be quantity, it can be amount, it can be anything that you can specify. That's what it means to be specific. And it must also be measurable. So what that means is that you must be able to measure the progress as you go along. One example that I like to use is if I say that I want to go by road from Abuja to Lokoja again, for example, and the distance is, say, for example, 100 kilometers. So what that means is that I want to cover 100 kilometers within a certain amount of time. Being measurable means that I can measure how many kilometers I've covered within a certain amount of time. Now, let's switch it and assume that I'm flying by air. Now, that might be a bit more difficult for me to measure in terms of distance because it's in the air. Of course, there are technology that helps you to measure distance over the air, right? So your plane, when you're flying, you're in an international flight, you can see on your dashboard in front of your seat the distance from where you are to your destination. That's different. But let's assume that you're just flying. Let's assume you develop wings and you're flying. It might be a bit more difficult for you to measure that distance, even though you know you're moving, but you cannot really measure the distance you're covering. So the reason why I said that is because once that goal is set, because you have set it to be specific does not mean that it will automatically be measurable. You must also ensure that you can measure the progress. So that means that at the end of, let's say we set a goal to say for this business, we want to hit 200 million naira in revenue by the end of Q1. If we say that, we will now be able to measure after week 1 how much we've made in revenue, after week 2 how much we've made in revenue, after week 3 how much we've made in revenue, right? And that helps us measure our goal till we achieve it. And the thing is, it must be achievable, and this is just very straightforward. It shouldn't be something that you cannot achieve, that you do not have the capacity to achieve, right? Or you don't have the resources to achieve. And it must be realistic as well. So there are some goals that are really nice, but they are not realistic. And it must be time bound. And the reason why that is simple is because if it is not time bound, then it's not really a goal. Because what that means is you can keep pushing it forward until whenever it happens. And I often use exams as an example. The reason why exams are difficult is not because of the difficulty of the questions in themselves, but because they are time bound. If they give you an exam and they give you 30 minutes, right? And you're able to perform excellently, there's every chance that if they change the time and in that same exam, they give you no time limit and they just said, whenever you solve it, bring it. At some point, you solve it. So ensuring that your goal is time bound is really important because that's what really puts your goal within a frame of when it should be achieved. So you can read up more on that. The third thing and the main thing that we're going to talk about is self-leadership. And I wrote here that it is the art of leading oneself towards achieving a set goal. Remember that we already talked about, the first thing we talked about was what a business was and the fact that a business must be solving a problem and be profiting from that problem consistently. The second is when we now talk about success, and we say success is achieving your set goal. Now we're now bringing it together to say, how do you lead yourself to be able to build a business which you've set a goal for and ensure that you achieve the goal that you set for that business? And the most critical thing to make this happen is to be able to lead yourself. So there are 4 directions of leadership, as I call them. And these are the different directions that we have to lead in any area or any aspect of our life. The first and most popular is when we have to lead our subordinates. If you're not seeing my slides, there's an arrow pointing downwards. That's when we have to lead subordinates. That's what most people term leadership. And most times people think that's where leadership ends. And leading subordinates is actually the easiest thing to do, you know. And some people might not agree, but that's the truth. It's the easiest thing to do. Now, the second direction is sideways. If you can see my slide, you can see the arrows pointing to the sides, is sideways. Now, this one is difficult, quite difficult. That is leading your peers, leading your colleagues, leading people who you are supposed or you are on the same level with. Say you are in your office and then you have to lead your colleagues, or you are in your school and you have to lead your classmates. You know, it's a bit more challenging. The dynamics there is different. The third, which is another difficult one, is leading your superiors. And most times I always tell people that every time you have a leader, a superior, as that person has a responsibility to lead you, you also have a responsibility to lead that person. And I'll explain that in a bit. And the fourth is leading yourself. Now, leading yourself is probably the most difficult. And it is the singular reason why we do not have quality leaders in mass in Africa today. And the reason is simple. Because most of the people we find or who find themselves in leadership positions have not been able to master the art of leading themselves. It then becomes difficult, right, for them to lead other people. And that's why we oftentimes have leadership failures across sectors, private sector, public sector. Because most people in leadership positions have not even mastered the art of leading themselves, let alone being able to lead other people. So this is why this has become very important. And I often say that anyone who is investing in leadership today should invest more in ensuring that people are able to lead themselves. Because if you're able to lead yourself adequately, then you're in a better position to lead other people much more effectively. So these are the four directions of leadership: leading subordinates, leading your colleagues, leading your superiors, and then leading yourself. But today we are going to really focus on leading yourself, and we can talk about all of the other ones maybe in future webinars. And leading yourself, when you're talking about leading yourself, it's called self-leadership. And there are 3 stages to self-leadership, and I'm going to be taking them one by one. The first one is self-awareness, the second is self-reflection, and the third is self-regulation. And these are stages of self-leadership that each one of us have to master in order for us to lead ourselves. So let me take them one after the other. For self-awareness, which is the first stage, is really where you really get to understand yourself, get to know yourself better, get to be more aware of yourself. There are a lot of trainers, there are a lot of coaches out there who can help you achieve this, who can help you get this done. There are books also that you can read, there are trainings and courses online that you can take to help you achieve this. So there are questions here that you need to answer. The first is, who are you? Who am I? And most times when people ask us these questions, we answer by stating our name, then our profession. But is that really who you are, if you think about it? Most times that's how we define ourselves. We define ourselves by what we do as a job or as a profession. Who are you? My name is Ayomide, I'm an accountant. Who are you? My name is Sophia, I'm a doctor. Right. But is that really who you are? If you look deeper, you will be able to answer that question. But the problem most times is that we don't look deep enough. So if you really ask yourself today, who am I? Really? Who am I? And that's a question that I would encourage everyone to really sit down and ask themselves. Who are you? Who are you? If you cannot answer that question, you are going to be you are not going to be maximizing who you really are. You know, the second question there is why do I exist? Why do you exist? What are you in existence for? You know, a number of people ask these questions and they don't get answers. And I think that there's a way to get answer to this specific question. Most times people would call it a question of purpose. That is, what is my purpose? What am I made for? What am I made to do? What am I designed for? And I think this is important for everyone to answer this question. The third there is, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are you passionate about? What are the things you love to do? What are the things you do not like to do? What are the things that turn you on? What are the things that turn you off, right? Really getting to understand yourself, really getting to know yourselves better. You know, oftentimes we spend a lot of time trying to know other people better, trying to understand other people, but we don't spend enough time trying to understand ourselves. And because of that, we do not allow the world experience the best of us because we don't go through this exercise. And then the final one there is, who is your ideal self? Who is the ideal you? Because I believe that most people would agree with me. Maybe not everyone would agree with me, but most people would agree with me that the state your life is in today, the state you are in today is not the state you want to be in, or it's not the ideal state you should be in. You probably should be in a better state. You probably should be a better person. You probably should be living in a better house. You should be driving a better car. You know, you should have a better job. You should be making more money or something. There's every chance that that's you. There's also every chance that you are okay the way you are. But for most people, the state you are in today is not your ideal state. There's so much more to you that has not become a reality. So that's why it's important for you to ask this question. All of those things become reality today. Who will my ideal self be? Who is the ideal me if everything was perfect? And let me state this, that sometimes we do not know that we are caging ourselves because we haven't gone through the rigor of exercising our minds to really understand who we really are. Because the truth is, if you understand who you really are, who your ideal self is, there are some things that will not move you. There are some things that will not bother you. There are some things that you will not settle for because you know who you are. Right. So here is...
Glad to hear it.
Siri, can you just keep quiet? Here is a map of how you can figure out who your ideal self is. The first thing that you need to understand are your strengths, because every one of us have strengths that we know and we are proud of. And those strengths are actually the things that are supposed to build you into your ideal self. Now, on the other end of that is that we have weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. The challenge is that because we now all have weaknesses, those weaknesses are now pulling you back from the things your strength is trying to help you do to become your ideal self. So it's like one thing is pulling forward and another one is pulling backward, and there's this constant struggle. Now, the next thing is your passion, the things you love to do. Coupled with your strength, your passion would help you create the ideal you, or is designed to create the ideal you. However, weaknesses oftentimes slow us down. So the question is, how do we then begin to elevate our strengths and our passion and then begin to fuse all of those together to get to ourselves while ensuring that our weaknesses are not pulling us backwards and slowing us down? How do we do that, right? To do that, you need to really look at the things that are the strengths that you have and the things that you need to do to maximize that strength, right? Then you now need to look at the weaknesses that you have and the things that you probably need to stop doing, right, to minimize that weakness. and then be able to bring in your passion into this mix, like the fuel to be able to make you or push you forward towards your ideal self. And there's a map that I often use for that. But before that, okay, I think there's an error here. So that's that. So the question here is, what do I need to do? Sorry about that. What do I do to create my ideal self? That's not what we need to figure out. And that's where self-reflection comes in. Now you understand who you are, you understand who the real you is, you understand the potential that you have, where you're going to, why you exist. Now, think about it. You are not there yet, but you need to be there. What do you need to do? This is where self-reflection comes in, which is the second stage of self-leadership. And here, I often like to say that this is where you think backwards and you think forward at the same time. When you're thinking forward, there you're saying, what do I want to achieve in my life? What do I want to achieve today? What do I want to achieve tomorrow? And I advise that people reflect like this, for at least 5 minutes every day, especially in the morning. What exactly do you want to achieve today? What do I want to achieve this month? What do I want to achieve this year? Right. The second thing there is, end of the day, what have I achieved today? What did I achieve today? Or what did I achieve yesterday? So when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself. Asking ourselves this simple yet very powerful question can change the course of our lives. And it starts from just changing the course of your day, to changing the course of your week, to changing the course of your month, to your year, then to changing the course of your life. Now, here is the thing. Most times when you start this thing, you might not see the results immediately. Sometimes you might, but most times you might not. But the more you stay consistent with it, the more the results become apparent. So this is the first principle under self-reflection. You must spend time thinking. You must spend time thinking. Think about what you want to achieve today or in the future, and think about what you've achieved in the past. And really look at it. And the reason why this is important is because it also sets perspective for some of the other things you might want to do going forward and in the future. So this is why this is very important. Now, remember when I talked about your ideal self, and then now we've talked about you being able to reflect. The process of building your ideal self requires you to make certain changes. Some of the changes would include how you begin to optimize the strengths that you have. So it's very important that at this point, you list out all of your strengths. What are the strengths that I have? List it out, pick up a notepad, pick up a pen. What are the strengths that I have? What are the things I'm really good at? What are the things I don't have a problem with, or I don't have a problem doing? Then list out all your weaknesses. Then list out all of the things you love to do. Now, to build your ideal self, because you now understand your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you now want to ask yourself a question. For me to maximize my strengths, what are the things that I need to start doing? Right. What are the things that I need to start doing now? The next thing there is, what are the things I need to improve on? Maybe you're already doing those things, but you're not doing them the way you should. Say, for example, one of these things that you need to do to maximize your strength, say, for example, is that you need to wake up every morning to plan your day, but you don't do it every day. Maybe you do it just once or twice a week. That might just be something you need to improve on. But if you haven't been doing that, that might be something you need to start to do. The third thing there is, are there things you need to reduce? Maybe you watch too much TV and this is taking your time and it's not allowing you to achieve other things. You need to reduce your TV time. You need to reduce your social media time. You need to reduce the time you spend hanging out with friends? Do you need to reduce the time you spend window shopping? Sometimes these are the things that steal time. And I said in one of my videos in the past that your time is really your life. And the more you waste your time, the more you're literally wasting your life. Because every minute that you waste, you are never going to get back. Then the final thing there is, what are the things you need to stop doing? These are especially things that feed your weaknesses. And remember that one of the things that I said is that most times we have these strengths and passion that have been designed to fuse together to get us to become our ideal selves, but then our weaknesses keep drawing us back. One of the ways to tackle your weaknesses is to stop doing some things. Literally stop doing some things. So you need to make a list of those things, and you have to be honest with yourself when you're doing this exercise. Here, because it's just you and yourself, there's no need to pretend deceiving yourself. You just have to be honest with yourself. Okay. For the things you need to start doing, the simple thing to do here is to create a routine. One thing routine does is that it helps to turn things into habits. There's a book that I have, I think it's on my shelf here, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Yeah, if you can get that book, that's one of the books that book transformed my life, Atomic Habits. It talks about how very tiny habits compound to significant results over time. Something as simple as waking up consistently every day at a particular time, doing that consistently over time can drastically change the progress that you make in your life over that period of time. So create a routine around it. And every time you create a routine, try as much as possible to stick to that routine for 30 days. There's this 30 days rule that I have. Anytime I want something to become a part, I do it consistently for 30 days. And I've seen it work. And I don't know if there's this one of my friends that I tried that with many years ago, and it worked till today. The person has not changed from that routine. So that's the power of building a routine around things you want to start. For things you want to improve on, you can simply learn from someone, read a book, search online, watch YouTube videos. I like to learn a lot from YouTube videos. Most of the things I know, most of the skills that I've developed have been through watching YouTube videos. I learned how to edit videos, build websites. I learned how to build smartphones from watching YouTube videos. So yeah, you can literally learn anything on YouTube. There's this guy, and I've said this in my videos before. There was this guy who learned how to throw the javelin on YouTube and went ahead to Olympic and won a gold medal. That's the power of learning online. So yeah, for this you want to improve, just learn. Next are things you want to reduce. For things you want to reduce, put measures in place to reduce them and be disciplined and be balanced. Put measures in place. For example, if you want to reduce your TV time, for example, make it difficult for you to be able to turn on your TV. Maybe every time you finish watching your TV, unplug it from the wall. Keep the remote on top of your wardrobe. Put measures in place to make it create, and this is called the process of creating barriers, right, to getting those things. So create as many barriers as possible to getting those things. If you want to stop hanging out with certain people, make it difficult for you to hang out with them. Maybe block their numbers. Just saying. Or just travel. Or just put measures in place, create barriers, right? That's how to reduce. For the things you want to stop, right? It's advisable for you to start by reducing them first and then slowly move towards stopping them. And it's the same principle. Create as many barriers as possible, then slowly move towards reducing them, right? Then the next Then another thing here, and I wrote this here so I won't forget, is to keep a timetable or a log to track your progress. So there was a time that I wanted to start waking up early at a certain time in the morning. I created a log on Evernote. So every time I wake up, I would log when I wake up, right? To know, just to have that. And I kept monitoring that. And because you are keeping that log, you don't want, if you've been doing it consistently, you don't want that log to be tampered with. So you are going to be very aggressive about that. And working in groups also helps. So if you can join a community and all of that, it helps for accountability. Self-regulation, which is the third stage, really talks about discipline, and is really you regulating and disciplining yourself to ensure that all of these other things that you've said, you actually keep to it and you do them. These are the ways that you can really lead yourself to become the ideal you. Now, we've talked about the stages of self-leadership. I'm going to just run very quickly through the components of self-leadership. The first one is believe. You must believe in yourself first. You must believe that you're a leader. And this is important because leadership is all about your mindset. You must believe that you're a leader and you're able to lead yourself. You determine the direction and the trajectory of your life. You must have that belief. If you do not have that belief, it's going to be difficult for you to lead yourself. The second thing is challenge. You must challenge yourself, ensure that you're constantly challenging yourself to do better. Because, like I said, there's every chance that as you are now, you're still not your ideal self yet. You must always challenge yourself to want to become your ideal self as quickly as possible. And the third is correct. You must make corrections where you know you're not doing well. And you must be real with yourself. You know, a number of times people do not like to be corrected, people do not like to take correction. And I don't understand why. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's important that you are open to correction. It's important that you correct yourself when you know that you are not doing well. And the reason why that is simple is because if you don't, you're just going to remain the same or even get worse. And the whole essence of this is to ensure that you're getting better, because that's how you push yourself towards your ideal self. So remember to always correct yourself and allow other people to correct you as well. All right, if you do all of this, I can guarantee you that success is or will be yours. I think we've come to the end of this series officially. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box or in the question box, and I can answer your question. Is there any question? All right. Let me be sure that there is no question before. Oh, someone has a question on Instagram Live. Instagram Live people. All right. Please ask your question. I wasn't thinking someone would have a question on Instagram Live. I was just doing Instagram Live just for the fun of it. All right. TKS Blends. Can you ask your question, please? Are you typing? Anyway, so if you want to okay, your question, what's the question? So I have tried to wake up early over a couple of weeks and it's not working. Waking up early is not easy. That's the truth. Waking up early is not easy. Let's start from there and let's understand that. Now, remember when I said that you need to pace these things and do them gradually. For me, the way I started to wake up early is two things. The first thing is I started creating barriers, as I call them. So for example, if you have an alarm that wakes you up, don't put the alarm beside you on the bed. Maybe put it on a table that is far away from you, such that when you get when the alarm sounds, you have to get up and walk across the room to turn off the alarm. If you do that, by the time you get up and do that work, the problem is not waking up. The problem is that standing up, right? Once you do that and walk across the room, you realize that you probably wouldn't go back to bed. So that's one way. The second way is not to start too early. So maybe you want to start waking up by 5 a.m. Don't start by 5 a.m. Maybe start with 6 a.m. Then push it up to 5:45, then push it up to 5:30, then 5:15, then before you eventually get to 5 a.m. But I also wanted to state, okay, you just wrote something. I wanted to state that we also need to realize, and this is one mistake that people make, that rest is actually as important as work. Most people do not realize that. Rest is as important, even if not more important than work. If you rest, you are not going to do optimal work, and that is the fact. If you want to do optimal work, you need to get a lot of rest. You need to have a schedule for rest, and you have to rest a lot. I think there is it Albert Einstein that was said about that? He sleeps 18 hours in a day or something. That's why the brain is always on fire. So rest is also very important. Yeah, that's it. I need to go now. So if this is your first time watching this webinar, this is the 10th and the final episode. We've had 9 episodes with different speakers, different guest speakers on this webinar and in the past few months. So if you want to do that, you can just go to YouTube and search Vent Oven on YouTube, and you see a list of all of the past videos, including this one, and you can watch them and learn. I assure you that you're going to learn a lot. All right, let's have a wonderful weekend, everyone. We'll see you again later.